Our coverage continues now with Mark Segraves, who joins us in the studio once again. Mark, you've been following this race closely. How do you see this playing out? Is this a victory for the campaign promises that Janice Lewis George ran on, affordability, government services, a change in governing style, or do people just want something different? They wanted a change altogether.
People want something different. If you look at not just her race, but all the races, the council races as well, and the delegate race for Eleanor Holmes Norton's seat, it's clear that D.C. residents want to change, and by a lot. I mean, when you look at, she's got that margin. That's not the only big margin. Take a look at Alyssa Silverman, who the former council member who's going to get sworn back in on the council now. She has been the projected winner in that special election for at large. She had over 55% for her race. I think Donnie Crawford, who was next to her, was somewhere around in the mid 20%. And she will, and there you have it, yeah, 55 to 25. And Alyssa Silverman's going to get sworn in probably in mid-July.
Yeah.
So that'll be before the November general election. So D.C. residents were saying they want change from the past 12 years of the Bowser administration, and they want to push back against President Trump and Republicans in Congress more strenuously than they've seen in the past few years.
So picking up on that, Mark, let's talk about a transition. We pointed out Mayor Bowser congratulated Lewis George today and was asked about a transition, said the transition can't really happen yet because Lewis George hasn't been elected yet in that general election that happens in November. But there's no love lost between these two. Right. She certainly didn't endorse her and told people that she was endorsing her opponent, McDuffie. She's also, George has run against a lot of Bowser's record and her relationship with the White House. Absolutely.
Bowser did stop short of actually endorsing McDuffie, but did say she was voting for McDuffie.
Yes.
And you're absolutely right when you say there's no love lost between Lewis George and Mayor Bowser. Bowser's right in a sense that, you really can't put the cart before the horse and really get into the Wilson building, really start talking about transition before you are mayor-elect. But Janice Lewis George can start putting things in place, can start having that conversation, can start putting feelers out and start thinking about it. And she should. She would be derelict in her duty if she didn't, because we know, unless something crazy, I mean, there are going to be a lot of independents who run against her in the general election in November, the vast majority of whom we've never heard of, and so probably have a very small chance of defeating her. Nonetheless, it's not a done deal yet. And Lewis George was, very gracious to Mayor Bowser, saying, look, I'm not going to try to open up a dialogue with President Trump or the White House because we have a mayor for that right now, and I'm not that mayor right now. Lewis George did say she has started to reach out to members of Congress, Democrats on Capitol Hill, to start laying the groundwork there. So, I think both of them have a vested interest in a smooth, peaceful, productive transfer of power and transition, and so that will happen. But I don't see Janice Lewis George keeping a lot of the Bowser people, and the Bowser people know that. I think some of them thought, like, well, if McDuffie got in, some of them might stick around for that. That's not going to happen in this case. And so they'll work well together. They're professionals. They've worked well together. But Janice Lewis George, as Paul Wagner reported, she's going to stay on the council until January. In a couple weeks, she's going to be voting on the budget that she's going to inherit. That's going to be her first budget when she becomes mayor, if in fact she is sworn in.
Real quick, the Trump effect, because we have to talk about that. Mayor Bowser walked that thin line, and to some success for the city. Lewis George is running, saying she wants somebody who has the voters want somebody who has the courage to fight for the city. What is her approach going to look like, and what's that going to mean for the city, especially on the backdrop of Trump threatening to take over the city?
We've been talking about this for more than 2 years while Trump was on the campaign trail, saying that he would take over D.C. He followed through with that when it came to federalizing the police department early in his first year, in his second term as president. And as you said, Mayor Bowser's walked that fine line, preserving home rule and getting out from under the thumb of the federalized of the D.C. Police Department. If Janice Lewis George, and she wasn't all on fire about when she was asked about Trump today. She said, I want to work with him. We want to find some common ground, right? So she said all the right things. But if she follows through with her campaign threat that on day one, she is going to end that cooperation between MPD and federal law enforcement, the Safe and Beautiful Task Force and immigration enforcement, then Trump can, just like that, just that quick, he can take over the police department again. If he wants to take over and get rid of home rule, he needs Congress to do that. He would be better set to try to do that before the midterms, before there might be Democrats taking over one of the two of the houses of Congress. But it's a real threat.
If she doesn't do that on day one, there are going to be a lot of people disappointed out there because it's easy to campaign on that.
Right. No, she said, all the candidates, McDuffie said it, everybody said this is what they're going to do. So this is clearly what the residents want.
Yes.
Right.
And D.C. voters are smart enough to know that there's some risk involved in that, right? They read the papers, they hear the president, they know there's risk. But there is an appetite to push back. People are frustrated. They're tired of seeing the National Guard on their streets. They're tired of the immigration enforcement.
All right.
Mark Segraves. Mark, thanks so much.
Thanks, Mark.